There was absolutely no doubt that Spain was by far the superior team. Today, they proved once again they are the absolute best on the planet. Argentina could not even manage a single shot on goal for the entire 90 minutes of regulation. In the end, the better team won. Leandro Paredes literally grabbed a man by the throat, not a rival in a street fight, not a stranger in a bar. This happened to a newly crowned champion right on the pitch of a World Cup final, with confetti still in the cannon and Lionel Messi sobbing just 30 yards away. Honestly, it was a deeply embarrassing display from the defending champions, and everyone watching knew it. Their play was in utter shambles. It was disgraceful, a completely disgusting performance on the biggest stage. The gold trophy was not even lifted yet, and now FIFA has launched a formal investigation. Their disciplinary prosecutor is sharpening his pencil, compiling a dossier on Argentina that gets thicker by the hour, filled with notes on throat grabs and punches. It felt like they had no interest in actually playing soccer. They wanted to do pretty much anything else besides winning a match. They were going to try and survive by fair means or foul. They would kick, punch, drag, and dive to get their way. We saw a political banner that sparked an immediate government response, players who completely skipped their mandatory media duties, and a red card that appeared on screen then mysteriously vanished. This was the grand stage where Argentina had fully hoped to defend their World Championship title. Honestly, what is the point of even playing in a World Cup final if you are not going to take a single shot? This is the raw, unfiltered story of the absolute ugliest World Cup final night in modern history, the massive fallout that followed, and the burning question every soccer fan is asking right now. Will FIFA actually do anything about this disaster? The night that broke everything was the final itself. Let us set the scene here, because this massive brawl did not happen in a vacuum. It was the rotten fruit of a tournament-long strategy. Spain won, 1-0, after a grueling extra time. Ferran Torres struck the decisive blow in the 105th minute, and Spain held on. Meanwhile, Argentina failed to register a single shot attempt in the 90 minutes of regulation and were thoroughly outplayed. The actual stat sheet is absolutely mind-blowing. Argentina goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez set a historic World Cup record by making 11 saves, which tells you pretty much everything you need to know. When your goalkeeper sets a final record and you still lose 1-0, that is not just a defeat, that is a siege. Argentina did not even attempt to play soccer. They tried to stop Spain from playing, and for 105 minutes, a heroic goalkeeper and some very creative fouling kept them alive. The match produced nearly 50 fouls in total, and yellow cards were scattered all over the place like confetti. Then came the exact moment that sealed Argentina's fate in 90 minutes, instead of 120. Enzo Fernandez was sent off for a second booking after completely clattering into Spain's Pa Kubari in the very closing stages of normal regulation time. Oh my God. Fernandez was shown 2 yellow cards in the span of just 11 minutes. Absolutely brainless. Completely brainless. Argentina was a team already losing every single measurable battle, and then they chose to lose a player too. With that, Enzo became the 3rd Argentine player ever sent off in a World Cup final. It is practically a tradition at this point. And now, Enzo has finally broken his silence on the matter. He stubbornly insists that Argentina represented themselves in the best possible way at this World Cup, despite his red card and a whole host of ugly, controversial incidents throughout their entire campaign. He posted online about heartbreak and honor, about wearing the national jersey with pride, making zero reference to the costly dismissal that helped sink his own team. Extremely convenient, right? Leandro Paredes and the throat grab heard around the world. This is exactly where the night went from ugly to historic. The final whistle blew. Spain's ecstatic players sprinted toward each other, and that was apparently unacceptable to Argentina's Nahuel Molina. Spain's Mikel, Orzabal, and Rodri sprinted right past Molina after the final whistle blew, and Molina appeared to swing at Rodri, leading the Spanish captain to stop dead in his tracks and approach the Argentine defender while shouting furiously. Molina then squared up to Rodri and bumped him in the chest. That flashpoint triggered Eric Garcia to step in, and that is exactly when Leandro Paredes arrived on the scene. The Boca Juniors midfielder raced headfirst into the confrontation and slammed his hand directly onto the throat of Spain's Eric Garcia, leaving the Barcelona defender completely floored by the sheer force of the impact. It did not stop there either. Paredes and Thiago Almardata then wrestled Spain midfielder Gabi to the ground. That clash sparked an even wider scuffle between players from both sides, including bench substitutes and the coaching staff. Scaloni, to his credit, was seen sprinting around the pitch, frantically trying his best to pull his own players apart. Over on the sideline, Nicolas Otamendi launched a furious tirade at Rodri over comments made by Spain's Emer Laporte in the pre-match build-up. Otamendi reportedly kept shouting that he had been crying all week. Imagine telling a newly crowned world champion, fresh off a 1-0 victory, that he was crying. That is exactly where Argentina's heads were at as chaos erupted. It was initially reported by FIFA that Paredes had actually been sent off by referee Slavo Vincic after he grabbed Spain's Eric Garcia by the throat. Leandro Paredes' red card was actually wiped clean from the official match record shortly afterward, and FIFA confirmed directly to BBC Sport that absolutely no disciplinary action was taken back then. FIFA has officially confirmed that they are opening formal disciplinary proceedings against Argentina. 1 second, the red card was there, then it vanished. The world watched in real time. That single vanishing act is now sitting right at the center of a formal FIFA investigation. Talk about a paper trail, but Roberto Ayala's moment made everything so much worse. And if you thought players completely losing their tempers out there was bad enough, let's get to the shocking moment involving a member of the coaching staff, because this is the part that turns a bad night into a total federation-level catastrophe. Argentina assistant coach Roberto Ayala struck Spain's Dani Olmo in the face after that 2026 World Cup final, and he has finally addressed the incident. Ayala reacted violently to Spain's celebrations, lunging directly at Dani Olmo, and after grabbing his shirt, he punched Spain's number 10 in the face, catching him completely by surprise and leaving him entirely unable to protect himself. The cameras caught all of it. Olmo kept his response completely classy. In his post-match interview, the 28-year-old simply said, "Look, it doesn't matter to us in the end." I think it is also pretty important to think about the values you want to convey to the outside. We are role models for so many generations and young children, and I think they should also try to be role models in everything, and always for the better. Dignified. Absolutely dignified. Now compare that directly to the man who swung at him. Ayala did eventually break his silence. Speaking on Valencia Capital Radio, Ayala said, "I saw there was a tussle in the middle of the field, and we tried to look out for our players. I take full responsibility for my actions. My absolute only intention was to separate the players, and nothing else. Sometimes things happen and you have 1,000 pulses racing through your body, but it's still no excuse, and the role I have is incredibly important. I shouldn't have done that no matter what I received." He has since promised to apologize to Dani Olmo in person. But here's the thing. An assistant coach literally punching an opposition player at a World Cup final is not just some flashpoint of passion. It is a serious, federation-level disciplinary incident. If the footage is verified and FIFA concludes that Ayala physically assaulted Dani Olmo, the governing body will likely open official disciplinary proceedings against the former Argentina defender. The turning of backs at the trophy ceremony. If you think the night ended with that on-field brawl, you weren't watching closely enough, because what followed those punches might actually be even worse. After collecting their silver medals from FIFA boss Gianni Infantino and United States President Donald Trump on the stage, the Argentina team turned their backs and refused to watch Spain accept their medals and lift the trophy. When the moment finally came for Spain to collect those gold medals, the Argentina players appeared to move to the far side of the pitch and stood with their backs to the Spanish team in what many branded an absolutely shocking display of pure disrespect. Gold confetti filled the air. 80,000 people watching in the stadium, millions on television, and Argentina had their backs turned. Scaloni, through floods of tears at his press conference, insisted his players had shown they really know how to lose. It was a pretty strange thing to say about a night that featured a red card for reckless petulance, a massive brawl, a coach punching a player, and a completely snubbed trophy ceremony. Alan Shearer said simply he went right for them. There is simply no place or space for that. We know how much it means to them and how much it hurts to lose, but there is a right way to lose. We have seen this from Argentina too many times, and Gary Neville called it a total disgrace on ITV, openly wondering why referees kept letting Argentina cross the line like that throughout the entire tournament. The verdict from the football world was brutal and completely consistent. One team made the final entirely about themselves and their grievances. The other made it about their country. Football decided which approach wins. FIFA's formal investigation, and what the rules actually say. Now, let's get into the actual mechanics of this FIFA probe, because this really matters. As FIFA said in an official statement, following an assessment of the relevant match reports for the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina, and in line with Article 36 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, the FIFA Disciplinary Committee has now appointed a disciplinary and ethics prosecutor to investigate potential breaches of the code with regard to those post-match incidents. Further details will be shared by the FIFA Disciplinary Committee once the prosecutor's final report has been completed. This is no simple warning letter. This is the start of a massive disciplinary machine. The ultimate decision hangs on official referee and match delegate reports, on-field video footage, and whether governing officials ultimately classify these hostile actions as unsporting behavior, violent conduct, or an even more serious category of offense. Under the official FIFA disciplinary rules, violent conduct carries a minimum 3-match suspension for every single player found guilty. Crucially, the governing body has the power to examine each player's behavior on an individual basis. Depending on what the footage and reports show, one player could completely escape punishment while another gets a massive ban. And that raw tape is absolutely, undeniably damning. This intense inquiry will determine whether the hostile behavior of Argentina's players and coaching staff directly violated Article 13 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, which strictly covers offensive conduct and fair play principles. By officially bringing in a dedicated disciplinary and ethics prosecutor, FIFA is signaling that they are hunting for major violations that go way beyond simple, run-of-the-mill violent conduct. So, who exactly has landed directly in the crosshairs of this investigation? Players like Nahuel Molina, Leandro Paredes, Thiago Almada, and assistant coach Roberto Ayala all appeared to be heavily involved. As a result, several Argentina stars and key members of the coaching staff could be facing massive suspensions if the panel finds them guilty. While the Argentine Football Association is facing yet another heavy fine, the evidence dossier just keeps getting thicker. And here is the one detail making FIFA officials sweat the most: that bizarre, vanishing red card. Right in the middle of a wild, live brawl, an apparent chokehold that is an automatic red card offense was flagged on the official systems, only to be quietly wiped away. Whether that was just a technical glitch or something much more suspicious, the public optics are absolutely catastrophic. Now, this independent prosecutor has to investigate after the fact the exact violent act that FIFA's own on-field officials chose to completely ignore in the heat of the moment. Then comes the controversial Fallens banner, sparking a second investigation running at the exact same time. But hold on, it gets worse. This is not just a single FIFA investigation. We are talking about 2 separate cases running simultaneously against the very same team in the exact same tournament. Even before the grand final kickoff, the squad from Argentina had already managed to trigger an entirely separate investigation. Right after securing their 10th semi-final victory over England in Atlanta, star defender Lisandro Martinez and unused substitute Giovanni Lo Celso proudly paraded a giant banner reading Las Malvinas son Argentinas, which translates to "the Fallens are Argentinian," as they wildly celebrated out on the pitch, grinning and waving to thousands of fans screaming in the stands. Giovanni Lo Celso was spotted grabbing that banner directly from fans in the crowd before proudly hoisting it high alongside teammates like Lisandro Martinez, Christian Romero, and Nicolas Otamendi. It was actually crafted from a hotel bedsheet, smuggled past security inside a fan's trousers. That passionate fan, identified only by the name Santiago, openly admitted that he made the banner using a basic hotel bedsheet and spray paint from a local store before stuffing it down his pants to get it past stadium security. He explained that the moment he saw Gonzalo Montiel, he tossed it over and the player caught it. Montiel then passed it to Giovanni Lo Celso, who became the very first one to proudly hold it high. Santiago shared these details with Perfield, leaving Argentina wide open to heavy FIFA sanctions, after celebrating their victory over England with an incredibly provocative banner, highlighting their geopolitical sovereignty claim. Beautiful, but absolutely politically toxic. The British government wasted no time demanding a full FIFA investigation after seeing the squad celebrate their World Cup semi-final victory over England by posing with the offensive banner. Even the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, backed the urgent calls for a formal FIFA investigation. According to an official spokesperson, Article 34.3 of the FIFA rulebook strictly bans players from displaying any kind of political messages or slogans before, during, or immediately after a match. The worst part? Argentina has actually done this twice before. Way back in 2014, the AFA was slapped with a fine of 30,000 Swiss francs after their players paraded a banner with an identical slogan right before a 2-0 friendly win over Slovenia. They took the fine, they paid the cash, and now, 12 years later, they went and did the exact same thing on the single biggest stage on the entire planet. In the end, Argentina could face severe punishment from FIFA on 3 completely separate charges for their wild post-match brawl, another massive fine for displaying that controversial Fallens banner, along with harsh individual sanctions against the players who promoted the political message. 3 separate charges from just one single tournament. That is an active disciplinary file, not an isolated incident. It is a pattern reflecting Argentina's long history of trouble with FIFA. And here is the main reason why the prosecutor's job has been made so much easier. This is absolutely not a first offense. Not even close. This is an undeniable pattern with receipts stretching back for years. Think back to the 2022 World Cup final in Qatar, when goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez made an incredibly lewd gesture with his official trophy before being filmed in the locker room, openly mocking France star Kylian Mbappe. More than his on-field actions, he has constantly made global headlines for his controversial off-field antics. Yet, Argentina was fined just £18,300, and no disciplinary action was taken against any individual player. That is absolute pocket change for a major national federation. And then came Enzo Fernandez, the very same Enzo Fernandez who was sent off in the 2026 final. He was forced to make a public apology after posting a video of a squad chant that the French Football Federation condemned as racist and discriminatory in 2024. The footage showed Fernandez and several of his Argentina teammates singing a highly offensive song about the French national soccer team. And that same year, Martinez was slapped with a 2-game ban for offensive behavior in the World Cup qualifiers, having repeated his infamous gesture with a replica Copa America trophy right after a dominant 3-0 victory over Chile. That 2014 Fallens banner, the 2026 Fallens banner, the LWD trophy gesture, the racist chant, the qualifier bans, and now this massive brawl in the World Cup final. Look at them individually, and you can wave each one away as heat of the moment, but stack them together, and they read like a habit. Bringing the entire sport into disrepute is a serious charge, and it gets a whole lot heavier when a prosecutor can point to a file this thick. And bringing the sport into disrepute is literally exactly what Article 13 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code was designed to handle. The clear precedents for some real punishment already exist. FIFA previously used this exact same regulation when pursuing disciplinary action against the former Spanish Football Federation president Luis Rubial, right after he forced a kiss on Jenny Hermoso at the Women's World Cup final. The world governing body FIFA ended up banning the former Spanish football president Luis Rubial from the sport for 3 full years. Ultimately, Rubial was hit with a 3-year ban from all football-related activities. Uruguayan striker Luis Suarez was also slapped with a harsh 4-month ban from all football-related activities following his infamous bite on Italian defender Giorgio Chiellini at the 2014 World Cup. On top of that, the player El Suarez was suspended for 9 official matches. The teeth are definitely there. The big question is whether FIFA will actually use them. There have been absolutely no apologies. It is a silence that speaks loudest. And this is the exact beat that tells you everything about where Argentina's head is. And yet, not a single central figure involved in that ugly brawl has apologized. Not one. Paredes broke his silence on Instagram, writing an emotional message saying, "Thank you, Argentina. I love you today and always." Even today, he said he wrote with a heavy heart, having been unable to bring their country the joy it so richly deserves, but with a chest full of pride for having given absolutely everything they had to fly their flag at the very top once again. Then he added, his thanks went out to everyone who was part of this team, and to the group of players who gave their all to represent this jersey until the very last second of every single match, calling it an honor to be part of the best Argentine team in history. Beautiful and defiant, deeply patriotic, and yet there was a complete, total, and deafening silence regarding the throat grab, the punches, or the brawl that has FIFA's prosecutor working overtime. Ultimately, Paredes has flatly refused to apologize for his actions. Since FIFA removed the red card from his record, the Argentina midfielder chose to express pride in his team's hard work during the tournament, instead of saying sorry, and former Aston Villa striker Gabby Aben-Lahore summed up the fury. You just want to feel safe out on the pitch. The punishment has to be so big that no player ever does that again. And there is another layer to this that is quietly staggering. And according to reports, every single Argentina player skipped their mandatory media duties following the final, with only coach Lionel Scaloni making himself available to speak under strict FIFA rules, trying his best to explain their actions without asking for any favors from the administration. All teams must make their players available to speak to the media following matches, facing the clear possibility of heavy fines if they fail to do so. Every single one of them, 0 players. Argentina was previously fined 300,000 Swiss francs at the 2014 World Cup after breaking those media obligations 4 times. They broke everything in one night without saying sorry, a total no-win nightmare. And now, we arrive at the part that makes this FIFA's problem just as much as Argentina's, because there is simply no clean exit here. The governing body is completely trapped. Argentina players could be suspended for at least 3 matches if FIFA decides that the post-game confrontation after the 2026 World Cup final involved violent conduct or actual assault. That is the official rule. That is exactly what the code says. But history tells us something very different. After 2022, when Argentina celebrated with lewd gestures, dressing room mockery, and destroyed media facilities, the punishment was a fine under $25,000. It appears highly likely that the Argentine Football Association will once again receive some sort of simple monetary fine. The AFA was fined over $24,500 for the team's conduct after winning the 2022 World Cup for offensive behavior and fair play violations. And no individual player was touched. Pocket change. So, the watching world now waits to see which version of FIFA shows up. The one that banned Rubial for 3 years. The one that banned Suarez for 4 months. Or the one that handed Argentina a small fine they could pay from petty cash and moved on. There is no timescale for the completion of this investigation. It just hangs. And every day it hangs. The suspicion that Argentina operates under a different set of rules grows louder. And your beautiful country has truly made its presence felt during this wild FIFA World Cup 2026. If they punish hard, it means FIFA has to throw the book at the biggest draw in the entire sport. Messi's own iconic squad, easily the most globally beloved squad on the planet, but punish them softly, and they confirm every single whisper from this tournament that the whistle always bent in Argentina's direction. Either way, FIFA is going to lose something, and that vanishing red card is now sitting deep in a file of questions they absolutely do not want to answer. Look at Messi, the only one who did not brawl. There is one more thing to consider, and it really matters. Lionel Messi did not join the brawl. He did not grab anyone, and he never swung back. The very moment that final whistle blew, the greatest footballer who has ever lived slowly sank to the grass and just stood there, completely and utterly alone. Then he broke down in tears, losing a final at 39 years old in what is almost certainly his very last World Cup. He essentially dragged a limited squad to this tournament on his back, making everyone believe his sheer genius was carved in stone in Qatar 4 years ago, and simply cannot be unwritten. Amazingly, even his harshest critics left a door open for him. Even Zlatan Ibrahimovic looked at the night and delivered a flat, brutal verdict, stating that football won today and Argentina finally got what they deserved. Yet even Zlatan was not talking about Messi when he made that claim, and young Lamine Yamal was already on the move. Spain's 19-year-old superstar went straight over to Messi right after the final whistle. The real tragedy of this final is that the greatest player who ever lived spent what is likely his last big goodbye, surrounded by his own teammates who seemed absolutely determined to make this historic night all about the absolute ugliest and most toxic version of themselves imaginable. Scaloni, crying genuine tears at his press conference, admitted that losing this game hurt him deep in his soul. He then admitted outright that Spain was clearly the better side, and that it would be incredibly hard to put together another team like this again. Choking up, he eventually walked out. The man leading Argentina was completely broken over the beauty of what they had built, and the immense pain of watching it crumble. No matter what you think of how his players behaved, that raw emotion was completely real. Meanwhile, Fan Torres, the hero whose dramatic goal won the World Cup for Spain, delivered the defining quote of the night for the other side, saying the goal was dedicated to 47 million people. He meant all of Spain. That is the big difference. One team made it about a nation. The other made it entirely about themselves. So, what is the verdict? What happens next? Here is where everything finally lands. Argentina came into this World Cup determined to defend their crown. Now, they are leaving it forced to defend themselves from a sports prosecutor. They could face heavy punishment from FIFA on 3 separate counts, starting with their wild post-match brawl, a massive fine for the controversial Fallen's banner, and individual sanctions against players for promoting that political message. To make matters worse, they also completely skipped every single mandatory media commitment after the final. They even had their coach caught on camera striking an opposition player, and they turned their backs on the champions during the trophy lift. As of right now, Argentina does not have any immediate fixtures scheduled. The next international window is actually the first extended one in FIFA's new calendar, with teams scheduled to play 4 games between September and October, meaning that is when any bans would actually start to bite. Right now, the prosecutor is working diligently through referee reports, match delegate documents, and every single camera angle captured at Matif Stadium that night. The footage is undeniable. Every incident is fully documented. Crucially, the governing body can still act even when the referee did not see the chaos unfold during the actual match. Video evidence will therefore be absolutely crucial in identifying who started the confrontation, and whether any player crossed the line from simple pushing and arguing into actual violent conduct. In the end, the trophy went to Spain, the heavy paperwork went to Argentina, and the massive backlash landed squarely on FIFA. Here is the question. Should FIFA come down incredibly hard on Argentina with serious bans and a fine that actually stings, or is losing a World Cup final enough punishment on its own? Go ahead and let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And before you slide away, do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss any of our upcoming videos.